I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
All right, so we're back. We have to talk about the man himself, CP10 or RCP22 at this point. Nick, Christian Pulisic continues to do it, continues to find ways to excite, to amaze, and to help, again, with a crucial 3 points.
Yeah, definitely the most dangerous dynamic player again today. I think, between him and Kovacic kind of making those defense splitting runs, which is tough against kind of a block 10. I mean, it was clear that Norwich were really condensed in the center of the park and were letting our, fullbacks advance as far as they really wanted to. And so Pulisic had to kind of weave his way a lot in this game. And I think early second half, certainly it on again. I think what's impressive to me, Mike, is obviously the pass was put on a plate for Giroud to head in, and that was kind of end of the first half. It's impressive to me that even though it's clear that he's gassed and he's played as many matches in a row in a short amount of time as he's probably ever played, that he is still turning up and taking guys on and trying to insert a little bit of magic into this team that at times has been pretty lackluster going forward. So, I mean, I don't know what you think about it, but I was very impressed today.
Dan and Nick, he's invaluable. He's their best player right now. He is. And
Frank loves him.
It's funny how things turn, but Chelsea have had a weird season, right? I mean, for several reasons, but this is usually around the time where, well, actually, my timeline's all screwed up because of the pandemic. A couple months ago was usually around the time where they have their team awards and they hand out their player of the season. Who the heck is Chelsea's player of the season this year? I thought Kovacic probably had it in the bag before just because he had the most consistent performances. But now you take into account what Christian Pulisic has done off the restart. Is it too hot a take to perhaps suggest that Chelsea's player of the season this year is an American?
I feel like that's a rehashed Chelsea mic'd up take that has somehow been microwaved on our podcast. So we might sidestep that one for just a moment while we kind of talk about the facts. Yeah, it's the hot pocket take that we got just now. So Christian Pulisic, 31 appearances across all competitions for Chelsea this season, just under 2,200 minutes played. 9 goals, 9 assists, combined goals plus assists of 18 in total. That's damn good. Like, forget what his country is, forget who he comes from. If you have any player first season in the Premier League dealing with the Premier League schedule, Champions League schedule, League Cup, FA Cup, Super Cup, and you got no rest from your prior season and coming into this team and also being out significantly for injury, Nick, I think when we look at awards, maybe it's not player of the season, but I think surprise of the season is definitely Christian Pulisic for Chelsea and what he's been able to do.
Yeah, and I mean, none of us mentioned that he might have had his best goal for Chelsea today, if not for a Tim Krul wonder save. I mean, he lays
Crazy.
The ball off to himself, essentially, tamps it down, and then hits it with his left, which is apparently his weaker foot or whatever.
Doesn't even look up. Doesn't even look up to the net to see where it is. It was brilliant. Brilliant.
But I mean, it tells you he's playing with instinct, right? I don't have, if you're in form, you don't have to look at where you're shooting. You know where it is. It's the big thing with the white border around it. It is incredibly impressive. Yeah, I think we said, Dan, at the beginning of the year that if 15 goal contributions was in his wheelhouse, that would be a damn good season for him, especially coming in, not knowing how the team was going to shake out or anything and not knowing where the fucking goals were going to come from, honestly. 18 with, 4 matches, maybe 5 to play, 6. But I don't like to think about the Champions League one. He could realistically get to 20 goal contributions this year in pretty short order. And then you start to think about what he can do next year with a full season and the trust of the manager. And it's gonna be chills,
Timo to play off, because you just start imagining what that 2-man game is there. So no one wants to answer my question. Is Chelsea's player of the season an American? Come on, I looked at it at ESPN. Come on.
What's the interesting thing here is that you look at Chelsea's top goal scorers for the season. You got Tammy in the Premier League, Tammy at 14, Willian at 9, Christian at 8, and let's just consider the fact that Willian's 9 are bolstered by 2 penalties, one by Christian Pulisic, because just thing I like to make sure that we call out. Olivier Giroud at 6, Mason at 6, who has not scored for quite some time, and then Marcus Alonso at 4. It's also possible that Christian Pulisic ends up being our second highest goal contributor in the Premier League, which I don't think any of us had as a write-in in any capacity for this coming season. I think it was probably nailed on. We kind of thought that Tammy was going to be it. Preseason hero Ross Barkley, everybody thought he was going to be kind of the next big contributor of goals. That didn't necessarily come to fruition.
Williams donning the number 10 maybe finally starts opening up that Premier League bank account in droves. No longer hindered by Hazard.
He's been all right. He's been okay. I mean, it's possible. I think when you look at player of the season, you have to look at the entire body of work, though, right? And for me, at this stage, if you were, straw polling it today, I think it has likely shifted from Kovacic to Mason just on like pure amount of just contribution to the team. But there's still 4 matches left. And thing about recency bias is if Pulisic's able to score against United in the semifinal, if he's able to, if he's able to help Chelsea cement what is honestly an improbable third place finish, given everything that's gone on, it would be absolutely nuts. Then, yeah, maybe the calculus changes a little bit. We'll
Scores
see.
4 goals against Bayern Munich and helps us advance in the Champions League. Done. Player of the season.
I think we can find some consensus in that Chelsea are simply not third without Christian Pulisic. I don't even want to imagine what this restart would be without him, because he is treated like their best player by opposing teams, and Frank certainly is rewarding that trust and putting him out there all the time. And you just know while watching it, like he's got to make something out of this here. He's going to turn and dribble through traffic, and an opportunity is going to come from here. You want the ball at his feet as a supporter, really, even as a neutral observer. You want Christian Pulisic to have the ball at his feet because he's turned into their most dynamic player. And this is absolutely the surprise of the season, because while we were American and we have high hopes for him, we were all there together having a beer, celebrating him signing for Chelsea. I don't even think in our wildest dreams did we think we'd even have the discussion. Is he the best player on a top 4 team?
I think the one thing, if we're going to maybe just nitpick a little, because nitpicking is what we do. Nick, I thought that in this match, both on the defensive side, maybe there was just a little bit of an opportunity, kind of couple fouls that he gave away, just, not necessarily was in a great position. And then also in the same token, his ability to win a foul has just been interesting. It's actually one of the areas where he hasn't been super successful. We pulled up the stats bomb graphic and we retweeted that earlier, but there's a lot of areas where in his game right now, across a 90-minute match, like expected goals 0.42. It's 97th percentile for players, like in their database. Amazing. But when you look at something like fouls won at 1.65 per match, that actually puts him in the 52nd percentile. So like in the middle of the pack, and with how dangerous he is and his play style, I kind of feel like he should be winning more, but what's your take on that?
I think he's starting to. What's been interesting since the restart to me is that he's using his body differently than at the beginning of the year. I think I noticed at the beginning of the year that he was trying to just go full speed, just blast down the touchline and cross the mid back or maybe shift a little bit. But he is doing more of the, I'm going to keep the ball away from you. I know that you're here, and I'm going to make you choose to foul me or let me go. And it's going to result in him getting hacked a lot, and it's going to, that number is going to shoot up next year, guaranteed. But it also makes me a little bit worried, Mike, about, him staying healthy, over the long term. We saw what happened to Eden Hazard, and I hope that he's able to continue to keep up the speed, because that's something that Eden didn't really have in his locker. and it kind of separates the two a little bit. But he was also a lot more laterally shifty than Christian is.
Yeah, I mean, well, all-world balance from Eden Hazard. I don't think we've ever seen a Chelsea player with such a strong lower body. I'm really hard-pressed to find, outside of like Michael the Burner Turner and Jamal Anderson, players with a stronger lower body than Eden Hazard. I do think that he needs to bulk up a little bit in that lower half. We saw with Sheffield United, that Baldock foul right at the beginning. That sets a tone. More of that where that came from. And he's not given a longer offseason. Guess what, Christian? You had your long offseason during this pandemic. I know some people have said, oh, he looks a little bit bigger since the restart. I'm not really seeing that. I think some of that is just he's wearing a white kit sometimes, and he just naturally looks bigger, and we haven't really seen that much of him. I do think that he needs to fill out that lower body a little bit more to take the beating that is coming his way, because tactically that's how teams are going to approach him, and he's not built like Eden Hazard. He is quicker, though, and I think that he can probably stand to lose some of that quickness a little bit. It means being stronger and being able to take the beating that is coming his way, because more of those fouls are coming. I tend to agree with Dan. Those stats are a bit surprising, and I do think that they're going to start ascending to a mean, because he's getting more and more of those calls.